Hi, and welcome to the Inflectra webinar on testing an AngularJS application and then moving it to ReactJS and then regression testing it using our Rapise test automation tool. We're first going to be showing you how you can take an AngularJS application, record a test for it, verify the test works, and then refactor the application to work with ReactJS, and then take that new application that's written in ReactJS and show how you can change the URL to handle the different instance, and how you can relearn objects inside of the test that you've recorded so that it can adapt to any changes that have been made in the application's DOM structure. We'll then look at some more advanced cases where we can make our software test cases more resilient, so that way they can work with both the AngularJS and ReactJS applications at the same time. And the two parts we'll be looking at will be how to write resilient XPath syntax and also how to use the WebSpy tool within Rapise to make this easier. And after that, we have a Q&A.
I'm Alexei, and I'm going to do this presentation today. So let's first look at our application under test. We have a demo application, a library information system. Initially, it was implemented in some plain HTML using just simplest possible libraries, and eventually we upgraded it to Angular, since Angular became very popular at some point. And this is a simple application. It's an imitation of some book management system. And then when ReactJS started to become more popular, version of the same application has been updated to the React. So it's library information system ReactJS. So you may see that it is a situation where two applications look very similar, but yet they are different. You may see that there are some little differences between those when I switch between them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an imitation of real-life scenario where we have some test set. We will record it right now, and it is implemented for the first version of the application. It's an Angular version. Then suppose that typical situation happens, application were updated, and part of it will be written with Angular, with React. So we have a task to either rewrite our tests or adopt our tests. So we will look at how to do that with Rapise. And finally, I'll show how to make both versions work. Rapise will be able to interact with both of them with the same test. We will do that in the same test. So that may be useful for migration, when you may check old version and new version of application at the same time, and maybe compare behavior, feed the same data, and see the differences. Okay, so as I said earlier, we will start with Angular. I'm starting new test. It would be for Angular version. It's a cross-browser test, and I'm going to work with Chrome, although the same may be done with other browsers. And I'm going to use a scriptless approach, so it will be Visual Language Array. Alright, okay, so once test is created, all I need is to start recording. So here is my application, and recording should not take long. I'm going to enter username, password, do login. So I'm logged in. Verify that it is me. So I'm clicking here. checking that text is this one, logged in as available borrower. Okay, so I have verification point, and finally I'm just logging out and doing finish. Well, recording is done. I'm inserting recorded steps here. So I have first version of the script, and now I may just play it to see that my recording is correct. So let's do the play and see what's happening. Chrome browser opens, username and password are entered, login, check username, log out, and we are done. Okay, so this is the simple scenario, and it's very trivial, and it works with Angular. Now, suppose we have that test, it works, it is executed overnight, and everything is fine, and we have another version of the application. So I'm going to adopt to it. So I'm going to make a copy of my test and name it Webinar React. So it is the same test, and the only difference I'm going to do, I'm going to add a navigate statement here. So we have navigator object, which has an open command, and what I want to do, and I want to start from different entry points. The web test in Rapise is designed in the way that only first URL is important. So once I ask Navigator to go somewhere, all other objects will proceed from that URL. And only so it only looks for objects on the page and not on the URL. So I'm using another entry point URL. I'm going to do play now. Let's see what's happening. So it navigated to React site and it failed on the first step. What's happened is it didn't find this username object. So before fixing that, let's look at what we have here in username. Here is our object, and here is how it's been located. Some XPath is generated, and we may see that location is done using a check for name and ID for this element. So, and as we see, this approach works with Angular version and doesn't work with React. This may be a good key for you to check that things, because in some cases, some objects may just work. If developers are aware about things like those attributes and keep them the same, or enable some custom ID attributes, that may be used by Rapise, and the test may stay working even if application is changed very radically. But in our case it is not, and what we need to do, the first thing we are going to do, to use relearn feature. So click on this username. Now I just click on this object. Well, and I may see that in my object tree, the username object jumped from one window that had a title containing Angular to another window where it were actually recorded its username. And I may see that XPath changed, and now it only uses ID and not name. And now if I play this script, I can see that it is able to enter username and fails on the next step, which is entering password. Okay, so I'm just going to move on the same way. Let me show it. So I'm just using relearn once this recording activity shows up and the sign click on object to be learned appears. I click on this object and relearn done. So I see this object also jumps to new window with React. Okay, login button, just do the same. Although, let me try something. Let me try to do flash. Okay, you may see that flash worked. This means that this button actually survived. And if I play this script, it would not only reach the point where password is entered, it will also bypass this point where login, where it clicks on the login button. This means that this XPath statement appears to be resilient from the beginning. So it's able to recognize an object in both cases for React and for Angular. And this is actually one of the goals that you may ask your developers to achieve, because it simplifies your work. But in real life, it's possible, but not always. Okay, so if I play it now, it should enter everything and stop on this assertion statement. So I skip relearning login. I'm just relearning this. Oh, no, I cannot relearn without login. So I'm playing it. So login should now succeed. So I'm logged in, and it fails at the point where it tries to find this logged in as statement. Well, let me see. So the first idea that comes to my mind is to just relearn. That's the simplest approach, probably. Click on it, so it's relearned, and it should find. So the feature that I now used is recording from given point. So I played the script up to the point where it failed. So it failed at the state where it was logged in. So it's now logged in, and if I play it again, it will fail because no login button is available here. But the good side is that if I know where it failed, I may just fix something at this point, and now I may just play this portion of the RL sheet. So play selection for just assertion statement. Okay, so it was able to find an object, but it failed to compare the text, because this assertion statement contained exact text that it was expecting to see in this welcome message. So I have two possible ways on fixing that. Either construct this new message as it's shown on the screen, but actually, since I see it's not so stable, and I actually don't need this whole message, I prefer to just ensure that username appears here, and I'll assume that it means that proper user are just logged in. For this purpose, I need to modify a bit my assertion statement. So here is my assertion generated by Rapise. So the first line contains the message that shows up in the report. Here it is. Then it's a condition. So first statement, then condition on what to do with results of that statement. In our case, it means compare output of this action. This means get inner text and compare its value to parameter number 2, which is param2. And it contains the text. So I'm going to modify it a bit using available options. So when you work with condition, just my advice is to always first change this cell. The cell contains the condition structure, and then change the parameter values. It's a good hint to remember. So now it will check that inner text returned from this welcome message contains the text typed here, and I want to check only the part of this text, which is Bella Barrow. Okay, let me do it and play selection now. See what's happening. Okay, so now this assertion passed. So only one step left. Let me play selection. Oh. Since I didn't relearn it, so it worked according to the default logic. So it used the URL from this logout, and since I didn't relearn it, it was URL for Angular version. Okay, that's not a big issue. So let me play it from the beginning with Angular, with React version. I'm just closing the browser to replay it completely. So starting from scratch, starting browser, navigating, entering username, now validating, and now it failed on the logout. So logout didn't work, we need to update it. So again, first idea is to just relearn this logout. And now since it's relearned, I may just play the last part. It will use last object definition. So it was able to do this logout action. So now I have the script that may do the whole cycle, and it may play. Okay. So what we did, we relearned all objects except one of them. We may relearn it, but it actually was fine from the beginning. It has resilient XPath, and it gives us a hint that we may build XPath so that it works with both versions. And shortly we will try to implement that idea to make a script that works with both versions of the application. But for now, what I see is that if I want to try it back with older version, what I need to do is to change this navigator statement. So I'm going to comment this navigation and use another URL here, which is a URL to an Angular version, and try it again. So I'm trying new script, adopt it to React version to see if it may work with older version. In many cases, you don't need it in real life, but suppose you have a situation like you have two versions of the application, or you need to enable kind of A/B testing where there are a couple of different presentations of the same screen, and you want to implement them without forking the whole test set. So this approach may be useful for that case. Okay. So, what we may see that the XPath learned for username and password in React version were actually fine even when we get back to Angular version. And login did work from the beginning, so that's fine. Now, we have first failed statement, and it didn't found this welcome message. Let's look at this object here. Well, its XPath is something long and actually hard to hard to make sure it's resilient. And probably another part that would hardly work is this logout statement. Let us see what we have here. Let me go here. Let me open two versions of the application in the same browser, so I might switch between them. Let me log in. And this is situation where it is worth to spend some time on the analysis to see what's going on. For the React version, we may see that this text that we see as just single line here, it is actually a set of text nodes. So it's not just one line, it's a set of text nodes combined with command nodes. So it is something having really unstable structure. Also, there is no kind of ID or name here in this paragraph node. So it's hard to stick with that. The logout link actually embedded inside this paragraph. This is what we see on the React part. Let's check the same with Angular. In this case, situation looks a bit better, since the text part of this message is, at least it's combined as one line without comments, so it's cleaner. And the logout statement, it has different text, it has a space inside, but the good part of it is that it also has a link inside it. So paragraph contains this logout link. So the idea here is to first make a resilient version of this logout and then use logout as an anchor for finding its parent statement. It may sound a bit complex, but you will see that it is not so hard when I show you. Okay, so we first work with logout, and then we use the XPath build for logout to use it as an anchor to reach this welcome message. Okay, here is relearn, and you notice that I have two tabs open with two versions of this application in Chrome, and that's important in this case. In the relearn, I use spy. Okay, so now I'm using track Ctrl-T, pointing on my logout and pressing Ctrl-T again. So here is the logout link, and the most interesting part of it is the XPath generated for it. So this XPath doesn't contain text option, but let's see what we have if we switch to this React version. Doing the same, I'm just switching the tab, doing the tracking, pointing. So this is another logout for the React. And we see that it has this XPath text, which is good. So I'm going to use it here and do test. It finds exactly one node, and we see that this XPath looks more resilient because the only page-specific thing that it uses is the text logout. Well, now let me switch back and try to test the same XPath with this tab. You may see that it shows empty result, nothing found here. And that was expected because text, in this case, is a bit different. It contains a space inside it. So if I add a space here and do test XPath again, you may see it was able to find a node. It's here. Well, so if I manage to create an XPath that is able checks both strings, logout and logout, with space and without space at the same time, then that may be an option for making a resilient XPath in this particular case. So, and I may achieve that because XPath syntax allows such a statement. We may use OR, another text comparison, and use another version of the same string. So what it tries to find, it finds an A or lint statement, and it should contain a text equal to log space out, or it should contain a text equal to logout without space. Let me test it. So it's still able to find it in Angular. Switching to React and checking here. And you may see that it is also able to find it in React version. Here is the found element. That's fine. So this appears to be a good option for us. So I'm just pressing Learn here and closing the SPY. So this will finish my relearn session. Now let's see that my advanced XPath used here. It's a result of the relearn. I'm going to copy it because I will, as I said, it would be a good option for me for finding this object. So I'm also going to relearn it. So I'm looking for this text message. Okay, I'm launching SPY from this relearn. Pasting my XPath here. So now it finds logout, but it is not what I need. I need its parent. Navigating to parent is simple, adding slash and two dots. Just like we do it with directories. Now you may see that it found this paragraph. And it found this paragraph in case of what we have the React version. Switch to Angular, switch back to SPY, and do this test again. You may see that it's still able to find this paragraph, even in Angular version. And that is our goal. So we have a resilient XPath. It may look a bit cumbersome from the first point of view, but it's very reasonable. It only contains data specific to application. It doesn't contain paths that appear to be dynamic, so it should be more stable than what was in the beginning. And we already see that it works with two versions of the application, which is actually a good result. Okay, I'm pressing, I did learn, I'm closing SPY, and my login statement now updated. So it uses this new XPath. Well, so I now expect that my version of test script will work with Angular version again. Let me do that. So just playing it. So it connects to Angular version, does login, verification, and logout, and everything passed. Well, now switch to React version and play. So it navigated to React. Again, log in, verify, and log out. So it's able to work with both. So we have a universal script, and universal in many cases it means that it is more stable than something just recorded. It's more resilient, and it has less chances to fail due to some minor change that you actually don't care about. Well, now I want to do the script that actually runs to React and Angular at the same time. Okay, let me just save another copy. Webinar Angular React. So Angular and React. Okay, opening RWell, and now I want to remove this logic from here and make it callable, something that I may call or may execute as a standalone thing. Well, I may add a sheet to the RWell, and I'm going to name it login logout, for example. Now I'm just copying the statements related to actual logic of the script. I'm doing copy, delete. I'm using keyboard. You may do the same with mouse, and paste, Ctrl V. Okay, so my script is now here. So what I need to add to the initial sheet is call to that script. Calling a sheet is easier. I need to use RWell object. It has do play sheet, and sheet name is login logout. Now copy, paste. So it is now going to navigate to React, do login logout, now navigate to Angular and do the same. Let's try. So it played for first and then played for the second. Well, one simple thing that is worth doing, in most cases we do it, is data feed. One user is not enough. I'll do this quickly because we already did it several times. You may see other webinars and demo videos. So I'm going to add a map type roles, users, and add data here with logins, login names, copy, paste from Excel, remove redundant things. That's it. We have a map. I'm going to use map data here. So I'm using type users. It's a name of the map. It's username. Here I'm going to use users. And password. It's password. And last is a welcome name. And it's a name. User's name. It's used here in the verification. So I'm again linking to users. Name. Okay. So, name. Okay, so now I may use a feature called play this sheet to not play it every time for both. And I want to focus on this sheet. So I'm just going to play this sheet. And in this case, we have a map. We have data read from this map. And what it is going to do, it should read the first entry from this map and apply. So it now should log in as user librarian. And since we have these two tabs here and it may look as a trick, I'm just closing the browser so you should see how it works in the clean situation. So playing this sheet. So it enters librarian, logs in, checks, logs out, and it is done. Okay. Now I'm going, one user probably is not enough, so I'm going to add a loop. This is how to iterate through entries in the map. So loop type is map, and the map to iterate through is users. So everything inside this loop body will be repeated for each entry. What I'm going to do, I'm going to enclose my script into the body, and simplest way for doing that is copy this end statement, delete it, and paste it here. It actually complains that there is no end of this loop, so we should make it happy by pasting this end here after our statement. So now our script will iterate for each of those users. So let me just play this sheet, not the whole script. So while it is running, again, some key points that may be useful for you on ensuring application resilience. So first of all, in this case, you see that changing logout with log space out actually causes a problem. So it is worth to keep that minor things stable, because in many cases, it's not an intended change. It's just an accident that, for example, this sign, please log in, has lowercase login here, and it has uppercase login in the Angular version. So it's not something intentional, no cruel intentions. It's just an accident, and keeping that stable helps to make automation more stable. So now final thing, just final run. If I just play, it will play this RWL script, which is entry point, and it will play 2 times, once for each URL. I'm going to shorten this execution. I'm going to execute to run it for just a couple of users here. For that, I may use this point. For example, I want to run it for librarian and for member. This means skip all lines in the map except those marked with this. This should save our time. Also, since I'm running it for some kind of comparison, I'm going to capture screenshots. Capture execution for screen capture, setting it to true, and setting it to widget only, and going to include it into the report so I can see what was happening on the screen. So it would run 2 versions, but only for a couple of users. So okay, first go to React, enter librarian, login, logout. Now member, login and logout. Now navigate to Angular. You see that login again has space here. So different naming, the rest is the same. And such things actually a primary source for the problems for us. Okay, so we have execution for both Angular and React. We have screenshots of each particular steps reflected, how it was entering. We see that everything is green, so it was able to work with 2 versions. Maybe one more thing we need to fix here is this message that appears in the report, because message of the assertion contains hard-coded name of the Bella, and it's not true. So I'm going to remove this username here, logged in as, and I'm going to append actually the value that I'm checking. For that, I'm adding another line with message, and this line will be appended to the message put to the report. And in the message, I'm going to append username that I'm using for actual comparison. So, and here maybe let me reduce it to just one user because we are running out of time, just librarian. And again, to make it more spectacular, change the browser, for example. Let me play it as Firefox. And let's go. So it should execute for two versions of the application. For just one user, I configured it in the map with screenshots, and for two versions of the application and using Firefox. So we just done with React, and we are going to Angular, doing the same, logging in. So you see the browser is different, logging out, and we are done. Well, so this was like complete sample of complete working session. I've tried to adopt it. There are a lot of additional questions. So this example is very simple, and we understand that. There are many cases that where it is not so simple. That's also true. But in general, this example demonstrates the core features that may help the application to be more automatable, and approaches to fix test cases instead of re-recording or rewriting them. That should help you to save your time.
Thanks for watching today's webinar on testing an AngularJS and ReactJS application. For more videos on software testing, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great day.